In this video, I'm going to be doing my personal development plan for emotional intelligence. And I'm going to first begin by talking about my personal and professional aspirations. So, ever since I got out of high school, I had in mind of pursuing a career in dentistry. It's always what I've wanted to do. I entered high school as a biology major since my AP biology teacher in high school inspired me to get a degree in biology. So his passion for the field, he completely transferred it to me. So that's why I decided to begin college as a biology major and ultimately go into dentistry. So this past spring semester, I actually became a dental assistant along while taking 6 classes at the university. It was a very challenging time, not only because of that, but I was also dealing with, the stock market crashing and just everything going on at once was very stressful. And I'll talk a little bit more about that experience in a few minutes. So I'm sorry the slides keep changing. However, recently, my best friend and I developed a business plan to pursue in the next year. So I postponed my plans to become a dentist actually, uh, because my friend and I want to do that business. I didn't get a lot of support from my family to make that decision because they wanted for me to follow something safe. But as I explained to them, I'm only 21 years old. I have a lot of time to experience different things, and I ultimately want to discover what I like doing the most. I've already explored the field of dentistry enough to know that I like it, but I haven't really explored many other fields. For example, all of my jobs have been in pizza restaurants ever since I began working, and I only worked in a warehouse once, and I didn't like it at all. Um, when I was managing a pizza restaurant, I did enjoy that experience. That's why I'm a little bit inspired into building my own business, but it is going to be difficult. It was a hard decision to make. So what I decided to do is to not give it to one or the other. What I told my friend is I'm going to take the dental admissions exam this summer, which is an exam that you have to take before you go to dental school. So it gives me a period of about a year and a half to develop and grow the business. However, I told my friend, if I see significant growth and progress within the business within the first year, I will make a final decision on whether I go to dental school or not. So my decision is going to be very dependent on how the business progresses in the first year. The business model that we built is we're basically going to be distributing goods to gas stations. My friend owns 2 gas stations, and we're going to be distributing goods to gas stations. So the business model should pick up fast. If it doesn't, it's because there's not enough demand or we're not offering competitive prices. We believe we have competitive prices. That's why I was very convinced into getting into the business. As I said, he owns 2 gas stations, so he knows more or less the prices of the products, and we believe we have a competitive edge. That's why we decided to get into that business in the first place. So I'm going to move on to talking about emotional intelligence. So what is emotional intelligence? Well, emotional intelligence includes a person's social skills, ability to persist in the face of challenges, and their ability to control their emotions. However, emotional intelligence has a lot more scopes than that. So for example, we have self-perception, self-expression, decision making, stress management, and interpersonal relationships. Within those scopes, there are further subcategories of emotional intelligence. So for example, in the self-perception realm, we have self-regard. Self-regard is our ability to understand our weaknesses and strengths. Self-actualization, which is also within the self-perception realm, is our ability to persist to improve ourselves in a dynamic process through life. So it is your ability to identify your weaknesses and improve them for good, whether it is for your job, for your personal relationships, or anything you do is the act of improving a weakness. Self-awareness. Self-awareness is being aware of your emotions, understanding your emotions, understanding what they're trying to tell you, and understanding their impact they have on decision making. Now, on the realm of self-expression. Self-expression is actually very important because it's how we build relationships. It's whether people like you or not. Now, in the self-expression, we have emotional self-expressions, assertiveness, and independence. Emotional self-expression is your ability to express yourself, to properly express your emotions. Not everybody can do that because sometimes we verbally express something that we do not necessarily mean. But your body language betrays you because your body language is actually what people understand the most. For example, let's say your friend asks for your help to move out. And when he asks you, your answer is like, yeah, sure. You're agreeing to help your friend, but your body language does not really demonstrate that you're willing to help. It's more like you feel forced to do it, like you don't really want to do it. Um, Now, assertiveness is your ability to stand up for yourself, meaning it's your ability to disagree with others in a respectful manner, to argue, to make your points in a respectful manner. So we all have disagreements, but we should all always respect the other person's point of view while presenting yours. It's not about making demoralizing the other person. It's about making your point and taking theirs. So actually, now that I'm talking about assertiveness keeps changing. Now that we're talking about assertiveness, I think that in these past 2020 elections, the United States population failed to respect each other's thoughts. It was Democrats and Republicans attacking each other left and right, and we keep forgetting that we all have the best interest in the country in our hearts. Yes, we have disagreements about how it should be done and how it should get done, but we shouldn't fight. We should just be united. We can have disagreements and co-live with each other. It doesn't have to be a war every time we have an election. As a matter of fact, I have a great example of the importance of assertiveness. When I was in Miami-Dade Honors College, I had a friend who was Republican, and she was afraid to tell her other friends that she was Republican because she was afraid of how they would view her, And it actually ties to the definition of judgment that we saw in one of the videos in the quest that completely blew my mind. Judgment is the fear of someone else's judgment about themselves and how that's going to make you feel, meaning how that's going to impact the judgment of yourself. That definition blew my mind. So she was scared of judgment from other people. And not only that, but if you're scared to tell your friends what you truly think, what you truly believe, and you're scared that they'll walk away, you should do it anyways. Because if your friends walk away for how you think and they don't respect your opinions and they don't respect your facts, they shouldn't be your friends. Well, that's what I think about that. Now, interpersonal is our social responsibility, empathy, and interrelationship building. Now, empathy is our ability to level with others, to show support for others. So it's about respecting them. So when your friend comes and asks for help, you help them feel better. So that's what empathy is about. So empathy, for you to be empathetic, you have to have self-regard, meaning you have to understand your emotions, because you can't really help someone else go through something if you don't understand your emotions. It's like trying to be a math tutor without knowing math. So decision making is about reality testing, impulse control, and problem solving. So decision making is very heavily affected by your ability to control your impulses. So your impulse reactions are those first reactions when you're told something. It's how you react to your instantaneous reaction to any news, events, or anything like that, which might be bad, and you should always be able to control it. So as an example, let's say you and your friend have had a trip planned to Europe for a whole year. You already got your tickets reserved and your hotel reserved, and it's been reserved for a year. But your friend, a week before the trip, has to cancel on you because, let's say, her mom got really sick. But you don't know that her mom got really sick, and all she tells you is that she needs to cancel the trip. And your first reaction might be, why? How can you do this to me? Uh, this is unacceptable. We're gonna lose so much money. Before you make all those reactions and perhaps talk negatively to your friend, you should wait and ask why. What happened? So when you find out that her mom got really sick, it might change your whole perspective. Whereas if you don't control your impulses, you might be putting your friendship at risk. Stress management is our flexibility, stress tolerance, and optimism. Stress tolerance is our ability to be optimistic in our abilities to fix our problems or to fix any difficult situation that is causing stress. Now, you might notice that over here I have weaknesses and over here I have strengths. And that's because my respective weaknesses lies to this side and my strengths lie to the other side. Now, I don't want to say that I'm complete, that I have a total weakness in decision making and stress management. All I'm saying is that I do show a need to improve in these areas. So, for example, I am very good at dealing with problems when it's only one at once. For example, if my car window breaks, I won't get stressed about it. I will just literally take my car to the shop and get it fixed. There's nothing else I can do about that. For example, in January of 2020, I had already been in the stock market. I actually got in the stock market in November of 2019. As you might recall, the stock market crashed in the early, I believe it was around March of 2020, given that our economy, suddenly stopped functioning when we started having lockdowns. And for quite some time, we were going to be scared because our economy came to a hard stop and the stock market did not react well. However, after a few times, after the uncertainty started to level off, the stock market surely recovered. However, during that March of the stock market crash, I revalued my investments. I diversified my portfolio even more. I got into new positions after the crash, and my actions helped me recover a lot because I was down around 30% at the time, and in no time I was up relatively fast. But that's because the market recovered relatively fast as well. So, my weaknesses: decision making. I have a weakness in reality testing and impulse control, though not always. I'm really good at controlling my impulse. So, for example, well, not really good, it's oftentimes good. It depends because for interpersonal relationships, I do control my impulses well enough so I don't affect my relationships. But for other matters, I don't do it so well. I'm going to give you two examples. Actually, my example is going to come right after because I actually have a picture of my portfolio and how my decision making, my weakness in decision making has impacted me thus far this year. So, my stress management. Like I said, I can manage stress when I have very few problems going on at once. However, this past spring semester, I mentioned before that I was becoming a dental assistant. I was taking 6 classes, which, by the way, 5 of them were STEM courses, and I was also involved in the stock market. So I was doing those 3 things at the same time. During normal times, that's perfectly fine. I can handle it. But in January, shiny stocks, which I own a lot of, crashed because of the problems with Russia and Ukraine. Given that the shiny stocks crashed, I lost a lot of money. But I lost a lot of money because I opened a lot of investments in shiny stocks in December because of my lack of reality testing and impulse control. Now, back then when I made the decision of buying this investment, in a car company called NIO, which is based in China, I had a few details of information that I did not pay attention to, which failed this concept of decision making, reality testing. When I made the investment, I knew that Russia was planning to attack Ukraine. I mean, I didn't know for a fact, but they were building troops along the border, and it was being speculated that Russia would attack Ukraine. I also knew that Russia and China are somewhat allies. So if China decided to help Russia, that would have put Chinese stocks on the brink, given that the US will probably sanction China. So I had those details in front of me, but I decided not to listen, not to take it into account. And that's how reality testing impacted me. Because guess what? When Russia attacked Ukraine, a lot of the Chinese stocks started to drop like crazy. Why? Because like I said, China and Russia are sort of allies. So people didn't know how China was going to react to that war. Were they going to help Russia? Are they not going to help Russia? Well, they ultimately decided not to help Russia, but Chinese stocks dropped an average of something in the vicinity of 100%. I mean, the Chinese stock that I got dropped more than 100, well, not 100%, sorry, 50%. My strengths over here. So I do believe I have great strengths in these areas. I think I do manage to express myself very well, and I do express my emotions very well. And that's actually kind of surprising given that I'm Cuban, and in Cuba, people still believe that men shouldn't cry and things like that. No, I'm able to express when I'm sad, I'm able to express when I'm happy, I'm able to express when I'm angry, though I'm always respectful. I've never been disrespectful. And if I'm going to be quite honest with you, these skills that I have in self-perception, self-expression, and interpersonal are not necessarily because I've taken these classes before, but it's just the way my mother raised me. You know, she always taught me to be respectful. She always told me to communicate my feelings. My mom, when I came home crying because I broke my leg or something in Cuba playing in the streets, she never told me, man, don't cry. No, she used to hug me and tell me, hey, it's gonna be okay. Let's go to the hospital and we'll be fine. You know, she never demoralized my emotions. She always showed me empathy. So I guess seeing her actions from her made me like that, you know? And most of my family is like that. So I think I learned that from their behavior rather than, you know, reading about it. Though this class did help me notice that I have a big problem in stress management and in decision making. So and I also have a good self-perception, you know. I don't let the opinions of others influence how I perceive myself. I mean, sure, I love constructive criticism. I'm not afraid of people to tell me that I did something wrong, and I will accept when I did something wrong. However, I wouldn't accept people demoralizing me. I wouldn't allow it. I wouldn't allow it to get into my head. I wouldn't allow it at all. So now I'm going to be talking about how my weaknesses have affected me in the past months. This is my portfolio for the past year. Though the number doesn't show there, this represents a drop of 54% in the past year. So in the past year, I've lost 54% of my savings, which I have in the stock market. How do I deal with this? Well, you see over here I was very happy, and then over here I was depressed. I got happy again, depressed, happy. I'm kidding. I don't react like that. So anyways, this drop right here, like I said, it was mostly because of the impulse decision I made to buy the Chinese stock ahead of an event that they had, and I failed to check what was going on before making that decision. And failing to verified the facts and their risk is what got me in this position. Though I would have lost money either way because the market has been in bear territory this year because our economy is not looking good. We have rising inflation, a lot of things going on, and things don't look pretty going ahead. So this is how my weaknesses have affected me recently. However, during this past spring semester, I was stressed, and I think that a lot of my stress came from my lack of time management. So I'm going to come back here to talk about a little bit further about my weaknesses. A lot of my stress came from my lack of time management. Now, I have accomplished a lot of things in my life, and I have worked, I have done research, and I have done a lot of things. The one thing I've never done in my life is time management. I've never planned my life in a calendar. I've just never been able to because I don't follow it. So every time I did it, I wouldn't follow it. So I just do things in my head. I'm like, okay, today I need to get this done, this, that, and that. So a lot of times it happens that I forget an assignment and it's due like in 2 days or something like that. And when you're doing a lot of things at once, you can't really function like that. So I guess one of the things that can help me manage my stress is developing more time management skills, which is actually what I think is the root of all my stress. And also, if I improve my reality testing and impulse control, I wouldn't have lost so much money in the stock market this year. And that was also a source of stress. So I could say from personal experience that perhaps controlling your impulses and improving your reality checking skills will improve how you manage stress. Because, it would avoid you from entering stressful situations. So how have my strengths helped me throughout the years? So I already talked about my weaknesses. I'm going to talk about how my strengths have helped me. So I graduated in high school, top 5% in my school. So why do I consider that a strength? Well, I consider that a strength because first of all, it's like a lot of hard work. I came from Cuba when I was 12 years old. And I was in 12th grade. I did not speak a word of English, but I was never, ever afraid to speak, even when I had an accent. I would participate in class. Obviously not at the beginning of 7th grade because I was trying to grasp as much vocabulary as I could. But by the end of 7th grade, I could already speak some things, obviously with super heavy accent, but I did not care. I was in school to learn, I was in school to participate, I was in school to grow, and I was not afraid to speak with my heavy accent for me to improve. So I think that's a good skill that I have in self-actualization. I'm always willing to improve my skills, and I did not care about judgment from others. That's why I believe I was able to learn English relatively fast. So by the time I was in high school, I could already speak English relatively good. As a matter of fact, I even enrolled in AP Biology by the time I was in 12th grade, and I was taking ENC 1101, 11, and 2 in 12th grade, along with AP Chemistry. So I do think that I did good in high school, given that that I had gotten from Cuba here when I was in 7th grade. I graduated from Miami-Dade Honors College with the highest honors. I was trusted to be the leader of a research team at Miami-Dade College, and I also, throughout the years, have built great relationships. I have a group of 5 best friends. We're 5, counting me. We actually, when I first came here, I used to live in this community of buildings. It was around 8 buildings, and they had a pool and they had parks within the community. So, kids used to go out, and I used to go play with them. And over time, we became best friends. Playing football, basketball, in the pool, and then over time we just started trusting each other with our personal issues, and that's where we grew our relationship, and they're like my brothers now. And also I've built great relationships at school. I'm actually really good friends with my physics professor because we both have an interest in the stock market. I came to him when I needed help, and he helped me. So that helped create a bond between us. I actually, not too long ago, I met with him for lunch to discuss how I was performing in the stock market and how I could get out of what I did this year. And he helped me develop new strategies. And overall, yeah, he's been a great component of my life since I met him because helped me learn a lot about the stock market, and he's given me a lot of advice too. And I put this here because I aced organic chemistry, and it's a very hard class. I usually have a long history with chemistry. Like I mentioned, I took AP chemistry in 12th grade, and I did get A's here and there, but I believe I got like 2 A's and then 1 B and a C. Because in high school they grade by 9 weeks, so I got like A, B, C. And then when I got to college, I was forced to retake chemistry because I got a 3 in my AP chemistry final exam, so that was not sufficient. And so when I retook chemistry in college, I was very cocky because I already saw most of the concepts and I felt like I knew them. So I didn't practice much, and I got a B again in General Chemistry 1 and General Chemistry 2. So when I started taking organic chemistry, I was tired of failing chemistry when it's a subject that I like so much. So I told myself, I'm gonna get an A in this class, and I don't care how I'm gonna do it, but I'm going to do it. So as soon as I got into the class, I started looking for the best resources to study organic chemistry. I got this book called Organic Chemistry for Dummies, which was actually super helpful. I actually also enrolled in an online tutoring platform that's called ClushPrep. So for every chapter, I had tutoring videos that were between 2 to 5 hours long. So although I aced a class that a lot of people fail, actually organic chemistry has about like a 50% drop rate in some classes. I aced it because I worked hard to it, because I proposed it to myself, because I was optimistic about it. I was optimistic about my abilities to do it, and I did it. So, and now I'm gonna soon to be a graduate of FIU Honors with a bachelor's degree. The reason why I put all of these accomplishments here is because all of these accomplishments have taken hard work. They have not been easy or straightforward. Along all of these accomplishments, I've had to face obstacles. I've had to overcome obstacles. I have had to network with people. I've had to ask people for help. Along my high school career, I helped people. People helped me. I built relationships. That's why I consider these my strengths. So, how will I implement my EQ in my academic, professional, and personal life? Now, what I put here is mainly my weaknesses, because I'm not going to implement in my life what I already have, which are my strengths, what I talked about: self-perception, interpersonal relationships, and my ability to be empathetic. So my main two problems come in decision making and stress tolerance. So how am I going to build better skills in these areas? Well, what I'm going to do is improve my stress tolerance. What I'm going to do is actually follow the advice in the book. The book states that when you're feeling stressed by multiple factors, what you should do is simply write it down on a piece of paper. Write down what is causing you to be stressed. Perhaps it's, I can't meet my deadline for my credit card payment, or I can't afford to pay for gas, or I'm running short of money to pay for rent and it's soon due. So then write down alternatives. So what can you do to fix each problem? So perhaps if you're running low on a low budget and can't meet rent, perhaps ask your parents for a little loan. Ask the bank for a loan. Get a part-time job. Download the Uber Eats app and do Uber Eats on the weekends if you have a chance. Or try to get another job and fit it into your schedule. build something, try to build a high side hustle, try to build an online business with Amazon FBA. Do something that will fix your problems. And don't expect your problems to be fixed by themselves, because I promise you they won't. Um, and now, improve on reality testing. That is something that I proposed to myself, especially after what happened to me this year in the stock market. You know, I had all the facts in front of my face, and I did it, and I decided not to look at them because my emotions were so strong about the event that this company was going to have that I was literally emotionally hijacked by the event. I had all the facts. I had the Russian military development on the border of Ukraine. I had the fact that China and Russia are allies. Everything was in front of me, and I decided not to look at it. And furthermore, I also knew that at some point in here, we were gonna have rising inflation because of all the trillions of dollars that were printed in 2020. I believe an insane percentage of all the circulating US dollars was printed in 2020. I believe it's something in the vicinity of 30% of all the money circulating. However, I'm not sure on that, so do not. I don't want to make a bold statement on that. Now, I believe that improving my time management will improve my stress tolerance because, like I said, a lot of my stress comes from my lack of time management. Although I have accomplished great things, I have graduated on top of my class, I have participated in various activities while having part-time jobs and such, I have never really managed my time properly like I could do. So I do definitely need to improve in the area, which will ultimately help me improve my stress management. And finally, I'm going to control my impulse decisions. So this is more, my problem here is more in terms of the stock market. So because I do not, for example, whenever my friends tell me something negative, such as a canceled trip, I'm like, okay, we can do it later. I'm usually not the type of person to get angry over silly things. So I've actually never been mad at any one of my friends, well, my best friends, and we've known each other for about 8 years. And it's not that they haven't done anything to me, or like not anything to me in the sense of anything bad, or like it's not that they haven't canceled on me or that we haven't gone through things. It's just I choose not to get mad over little things. Now, why do I put value on improving these weaknesses? Well, first of all, stress tolerance. In the book I read that long-term stress has many health effects. So for example, if I don't control my long-term stress, I'll be more prone to having high blood pressure, memory loss, anxiety, and lack of sleep. So anxiety can cause a lot of other things in its own as well. Therefore, I want to improve in these areas. Now, before I finish this presentation, I actually want to talk about something, a relationship to biology and emotional intelligence. So, as you know, I'm studying biology at FIU, so I'm a biologist, and I'm going to relate emotional intelligence and our goal as an organism. So I'm not going to talk about our human side, I'm going to talk about our goals and organisms. So throughout nature, there are many other organisms that are also social like we are. For example, many species of monkeys are social animals, meaning they live in groups rather than isolated. So actually the orangutans are one of the few species that do not live in social gatherings like we do. So for example, humans, we live in city, we're very social, very, very social. So if you lack these skills, you might have a harder time fitting into society, meaning making friends, finding love, being accepted by others. You might have a hard time at that. Now, in biology, we define fitness as an organism's ability to make it to adulthood and reproduce. So from a biological perspective, if you lack, if you significantly lack skills in empathy, emotional expression, self-regard, self-awareness, you're likely to be a person who nobody can stand. Because whenever you lack skills in self-regard and self-awareness, you don't understand your emotions and how it could affect your day. So if you're mad, you will lash out at people, and people do not like when you scream at them or when you take out your issues on them. People dislike that very much. So you would have a hard time fitting into society and perhaps finding a mate, a partner to reproduce and pass on your genes. Now, the goal of human reproduction is not like many other animals, which animals literally only reproduce to pass on their genes. Now, humans, we don't necessarily do it to pass on our genes, we just do it because it's nature within us, you know. We want to build a family because we think it's going to make us happier, because we want grandkids. At least that's what I want to have, a family. I don't necessarily want to have a family because I care about passing on my genes. I just have a family. I just want to have a family because, you know, I love kids. I want to have kids, you know, and it's a support system for you later on, believe it or not. So therefore, I just wanted to make that little relationship between emotional intelligence and a biological perspective. So that's the end of my presentation.